Hi, in this video we're going to show you a tool you could use to check connectivity of network connected devices on your network. So keep in mind, in order to use this, they're going to have to be able to respond to ping because that's what it uses to check the connectivity. Alright, so the tool is called Network Alarmers. So there is a standalone version with nothing to install, and that's what I'm using here. Just run the executable. And then there's also an installable one, which will put a icon in your start menu and so on. And then you could use it for free, but if you want to have the updates and not see the nag screen and get support, then you'll have to buy it. I think it's only $19. And it'll also be running down here in your system tray once you start it. All right, so let's open it up here. All right, so there's the nag screen I was talking about. Close that out. All right, so it does have a section for monitoring your air conditioners, so I'm not sure if you'd ever use that. Plus, I'm assuming if you had some, heavy-duty air conditioners, on the network, you'd probably have your own management software for that anyways. You could even set the alarm. Then we have this dial list. So if you have a modem connected to your computer, it could actually dial a number when something goes wrong. And then over here we have our host name list. So this is probably what you're going to use it for the most. So you could put websites, IP addresses, host names, and then you could click this button and it'll go out on the network and try and populate it for you. Then we have our interval here, so every 600 seconds it'll check it. Of course, you could change that, as well as your connection timeouts, retry and failures, wait before retry, alarm script, and here's the settings for dial up with a modem. And you have your alarm here. You can change this to dark mode. Then you can run a manual check and click on this. It'll open up the logs. See what's going on there. And if you go to the website, it'll tell you how to configure it if you want to use some of these other options, like for the air conditioning and that type of thing. And if you want to make an alarm script to send an email, it gives you an example here. Talks about the phone numbers and the air conditioning room temperature feature. All right, so if we do a manual check, we can see everything is green, everything's connected fine. Then it'll check again in 600 seconds. All right, so I'm going to go disconnect this computer here, and then we'll see what happens when it can't reach it. All right, so this is disconnected, so we could either wait, do it manually, or we could take this down. I think 10 is as low as you could go. So if we wait 10 seconds here, we'll see what happens. All right, we get that awful sound, which you could change. Let's change this back up so it doesn't do it again. All right, so now I'm going to go back and reconnect that computer. All right, so we're reconnected, so let's try a manual check. And now we're back in business. All right, so like I was saying, you're probably just going to use it for this. So if you have a device that you always want to kind of monitor and make sure it's always running, maybe it's been going down on a regular basis and you want to be notified when it does go down, you could use it for that. But like I said, it relies on ping. So if you can't ping a specific device, it's obviously not going to work. All right, so I'll put a link in the description where you can download Network Alarmer and you can try it out for yourself. All right, thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe.